Friends to lovers is one of the most popular romance tropes out there, and why shouldn't it be? It's a relatively drama-free trope, and not one you're likely to hear much controversy over, like you would with enemies to lovers. After all you're doing is taking two people who already like each other platonically and transitioning them into a romantic relationship. That happens every single day in real life, making Friends to lovers one of the most grounded and realistic romance tropes out there. I like this trope too, but after thinking about it in depth, I'm realizing I don't like it quite as much as I thought I did. And some of that just comes down to my own preferences. I don't need my fiction grounded or realistic, just so long as it's entertaining. In fact, I usually prefer a story that's more outlandish in some way. If I wanted realism, I'd read nonfiction, you know? That said, there is a lot to love about the Friends to lovers trope. Your perfect match being right in front of you all along, especially if it's been a long-running friendship, is a very romantic notion. And the idea of getting into a relationship with someone who already knows and accepts you so completely, thus skipping over the awkward getting-to-know-you phase of dating, is very appealing. When I do hear criticisms of this trope from other romance readers, they're usually from people who feel it perpetuates the myth that men and women can't be just friends, without sex or romance getting in the way and making it weird. That was, after all, the entire point of the movie When Harry Met Sally.
What I'm saying is, and this is not a come on in any way, shape, or form, is that men and women can't be friends because the sex part always gets in the way.
And I understand that frustration. I do. I'm a woman with quite a few guy friends, and it bothers me when people assume that because we're hanging out, we're either a couple or related somehow. One time, I swear to God, all I did was say hi to one of my friends as I passed him in the hall, and a total stranger nearby turned to me and goes, "That's your husband?" No. I can say hi to people without being married to them. So yeah, I understand the frustration. But that's also a larger problem in our society, and not something I'm prepared to blame this trope alone for. When I watch When Harry Met Sally, the message I take away from it isn't that men and women can't be just friends, but that it takes a solid foundation of friendship to make a relationship work.
I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
That's why the best enemies to lovers stories will always have the couple becoming friends in between the fighting and the loving stage. The story would fall flat otherwise. The real problems I run into with the friends to lovers trope are not so much from the trope itself, but from the sub-tropes that so often accompany it. Because, like I said, this is a relatively drama-free trope. Which sounds great until you remember that stories thrive on conflict. And that's where Friends to Lovers' greatest strength also becomes its greatest weakness. It has no conflict already baked in like you get with tropes such as enemies to lovers or forbidden love. This can lead to a lot of writers feeling sort of dead in the water when it comes to this trope, as they're forced to bring in conflict from other sources. Enter the love triangle, the most common and cliché trope that I see paired with a Friends to Lovers story. I have an entire video on why so many love triangles suck, which I'll link down below if you haven't seen it. But to briefly sum up, most love triangles are used solely to add cheap drama and delay the main couple getting together, instead of actually facilitating character development, which gets old really fast. Honestly, if it weren't for the abundance of love triangles, I might read Friends to Lovers romances more often than I do. But I don't want to appear unsympathetic here, because I can't understand why Friends to Lovers writers would be tempted to use love triangles so often. Another common problem you run into with Friends to Lovers is that something has to spark the realization in one or both of the love interests that they've developed feelings for this person beyond the normal bounds of friendship. Thinking they might lose them to another person usually does the trick. Of course, if this isn't written properly, it does run the risk of coming off as, I didn't want that old toy, but now that someone else is playing with it, I have to have it. So let's touch on jealousy here for a minute. Often paired with the love triangle, jealousy as romance is another trope that plagues so many Friends to Lovers stories. Now listen, I don't believe in negative emotions. I think every emotion serves a valid purpose, and it's not fair to make anyone feel ashamed over how they feel, something they have no control over. That said, just because I won't criticize the emotion itself doesn't mean I won't criticize how someone handles it. If you feel angry, that's fine, let's talk about it. But the second you start smashing things up, we're going to have a problem. It's the same with jealousy. Characters feeling jealous is fine, but some writers take it way too far and have them run around actively sabotaging each other's relationships or getting possessive to the point that it's creepy. Less egregious examples have the characters never addressing it at all, just getting passive-aggressive and pouty about it. Sometimes they end up maturing in a really satisfying character arc, but way too often that's not the case. And the frequency with which these things pop up can just leave me feeling like finding a really good friends-to-lovers story is just more trouble than it's worth. Obviously, they can appear alongside other tropes too, and I don't like it any better then, but they just seem to be extra common when it comes to friends-to-lovers for the reasons I mentioned previously. As a result, all of my favorite friends-to-lovers examples all come from books, movies, and TV where the romance is the subplot and not the main plot, because there's other drama going on that greatly reduces the risk of needing to bring in a love triangle or jealousy. It still happens, but less frequently. So if you are someone who's planning on writing a friends-to-lovers story, please consider steering away from these tired and overdone plot points. There are so many other ways you can add conflict to your story. Maybe the characters have social or cultural differences that will make a relationship difficult. Maybe they have to be physically separated for a while and find their way back to each other. Maybe one or both of them have made mistakes in their past that will come back to haunt them. There are so many options, so get creative. At the very least, it will make your book stand out amongst the sea of love triangles. But, of course, all of this is my opinion. Whatever your thoughts are, drop them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and subscribe to the channel for more. Until next time, stay brilliant, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.